All right, so everybody should be on page 495. All right, so Hitler has Rommel fighting in North Africa, and now Hitler has his sights set on the Soviet Union. Yeah, so if you can remember from the beginning of this section, the Soviet Union had the leader of the Soviet Union, Stalin, had signed a non-aggression pact with Hitler. And so as a part of this non-aggression pact, they agreed that they weren't going to fight for 10 years and that they were going to split Poland and that the Soviet Union would get those Balkan countries. But Hitler was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to follow that anymore. So he decides that he is going to invade the Soviet Union. So to get ready to do that, he decides that he is going to expand his influence in the Balkans. So he persuades those Balkan countries to be a part of his empire. He also persuades Bulgaria, Romania, and Hungary to join the Axis powers. He also tries to persuade Yugoslavia and Greece to join as well, but they're a little more resistant, so he invades those countries. And when he invades them, Yugoslavia, it takes 11 days for them to finally fall, and 17 days for Greece to fall. Then there is the invasion of the Soviet Union. This operation was called Operation Barbarossa. The Soviets were invaded on June 22nd, 1941. Remember that Blitzkrieg was the style of attack that Hitler used. It was also known as Lightning War, where first Hitler would send in aircraft and tanks, then followed by infantry, so men marching in. So the invasion went on for weeks of, the airplanes bombing and the tanks coming in and the soldiers marching in. So they marched in and they pushed the Soviets back. So the Soviets retreated back, but they practiced a long-standing tradition of the Soviet army. We talked about this back in the chapter on Napoleon. And it's interesting because this whole thing is very reminiscent of what happened during Napoleon's invasion of Russia. Because remember, when we're talking about the Soviet Union, we're talking about Russia. Because when the Soviet troops start retreating, so when the Germans start pushing them back, they practice that scorched earth policy. So they start burning everything, right? And the reason they start burning everything is so that these German soldiers won't have anything, right? There won't be any food in the fields. There won't be any animals they can catch, right? There's nothing. It's just devastation as they're traveling through the Soviet Union. And they'll only be able to use the supplies that they bring with them. And so this is a very effective policy because the Soviet Union is large and it's going to take a long time to get through there, and as many troops as are coming with them, they're probably hoping to be able to kind of use the countryside to be able to get some foods to kind of supplement their rations. Now, on September 8th, they make it to Leningrad, and the German soldiers try to take over that city. They completely surround it. There's over 2 million people left in the city. They hold it hostage. They hold all the people who are inside the city hostage, but the city doesn't fall. So Hitler is like, okay, we're not going to let any supplies get into the city and, until you surrender the city, but the city doesn't fall. So nobody can get out of the city, no supplies can get into the city. And, the people are desperately hungry, so they resort to eating whatever they can find. They start eating cattle, horse feed, cats, dogs, whatever they can find. But the city refuses to fall. So remember that Hitler gets bored easily because in the Battle of Britain, remember that the British people did not give up and Hitler got bored. Similar thing happens here. These people in Leningrad, these Soviets in Leningrad, did not give up. They did not surrender the city. So Hitler got bored and ordered his troops to move on. So they left Leningrad and they moved on to the capital city of the Soviet Union, which was Moscow. So everybody moved to page 496, top of the page. So Moscow, the capital city, the Germans made it to Moscow in December of 1941. Now, again, all of this is very parallel to Napoleon's invasion of Russia. Just like Hitler, Napoleon's troops had left in the summer and made it to Russia in the winter, and they were not prepared for a Russian winter. Here, Hitler's troops left in the summer. They get to Moscow in the middle of winter, and they too are not prepared. So here they are in December in their summer uniforms. Temperatures start to fall. They're running out of supplies because of that scorched earth policy where they were having to rely on just the supplies they brought with them. And, they're cold, they're tired, they're hungry, and they're wanting to retreat. The German soldiers are wanting to go home. But the German generals are being told by Napoleon, no retreat. You can't go home. And so these German troops dig in and they hold the line against the Soviets until March of 1943. But nothing really is gained except a lot of heavy German losses. They lost over 500,000 soldiers. So not a very successful mission. All right, so what about the Americans? So far, the Americans are staying out of the war. We didn't want to get into World War I. We got pulled in. We weren't very happy about that. And we definitely don't want to get into another war. Congress had passed a series of neutrality acts. These laws would make it illegal to sell arms or lend money to nations at war. But the president at the time, President Roosevelt, knew that if our allies fell, like France and Britain specifically, that we would be drawn into the war anyway, because Hitler is taking over everything, and that would be very dangerous to the whole world as a whole. So Roosevelt asked Congress to allow the Allies to be able to buy American arms, as long as they're paying cash and carrying the goods on their own ships. But eventually, we start allowing American ships to escort British ships carrying U.S. arms. And this was under the Lend-Lease Act. Oh, wait, sorry. Sorry, that was a different thing. Under the Lend-Lease Act, passed in March of 1941, the president could lend or lease arms and other supplies to any country vital to the United States. And then by summer of 1941, the U.S. Navy was escorting British ships carrying U.S. arms. And once we started escorting these British ships, Hitler started ordering his submarines to sink any cargo ships they met. Now, what does this sound like, right? This sounds like Germany back during World War I with that unrestricted submarine warfare, right? Very similar. So, even this is getting really close to, like, if one of our ships gets sunk, this is gonna make us really mad, right? Now, another thing was really significant was that even though the U.S. had not entered the war yet, the President of the United States, President Roosevelt, and the Prime Minister of Great Britain, Winston Churchill, met, and they discussed what was called the Atlantic Charter. They issued, this was an agreement that they came up with, this joint declaration, and it helped to serve as the peace plan for after the war. So they were already kind of coming up with ideas of what they wanted once the war was over. So here the U.S. isn't even in the war, but they're already kind of coming up with ideas of how things are going to be resolved after the war. And so that's the Atlantic Charter. And so parts of that was supporting free trade, rights to form own government, so like ideas supporting democracies and things like that. So that's pretty significant. All right.